You're listening to an archived Cabral Concept podcast. After listening to this show, check out the most up-to-date podcasts available at stephencabral.com/podcasts or search directly on iTunes. And now, welcome to the Cabral Concept, where board-certified naturopath and integrative health practitioner Dr. Stephen Cabral shares how he was diagnosed at the age of 17 with a life-altering illness and given no hope for recovery. It was only after studying and traveling all over the world did he discover how to combine ancient Ayurvedic healing practices with state-of-the-art naturopathic and functional medicine to fully rebalance the body and re-energize it with life. It's time to discover how to get well, lose weight, and finally feel alive again. And now, here's your host, Dr. Stephen Cabral.
On this Motivation and Mindset Monday, where I can't wait to get into this very popular and requested topic of what to do when no one understands. And I think a lot of this right now, even just listening to this podcast puts you in a very unique group. It's a group of people that are looking to change their lives for the better. They're looking in some way, shape, or form to take wherever they are right now and say, my future can be different than it is right now. Maybe my life's not so bad right now, or maybe it is. But what I'm looking to do is understand that I can take control of my own health, of my body, and transform it into anything that I want. That alone puts you into a unique mindset that just most people are not going to get. You have to understand that we live in a society of cultural norms. They are perpetuated by the media. And the media tells people how to think. They tell them what to buy, what you should think, and exactly how you should live your life. And that is why if you question authority, if you question your doctor, if you question the government, if you question what's put on the news, it puts you in a very small minority. A group of people that we would be the outcasts, right? I'm certainly part of the outcasts, which is saying like, oh, what is this type of medicine you're talking about that my medical doctor doesn't, believe in or want to share with me? Here's the thing. We are a group of people that aren't understood by the majority of people. Yes, there are a growing number of us. There's no doubt about it. But I'll tell you what, that most people, including most of your teachers, your doctors, certainly the media, and probably even your parents and siblings, they don't really get it. And that's okay. You have to understand is that most people out there are going to think it's a little weird if you spend, let's say, $5 a day on nutritional supplements, but yet they'll spend $5 a day on a latte at Starbucks, right? So just shifting the money from one place to another, it's not wasting it. Like, oh, what are you doing wasting your money on those supplements? Well, you just bought a latte with caramel syrup in it at Starbucks or wherever. Again, pick your favorite coffee store. Or you're looking at something like you decide to get a massage once a month and it's $100. Okay, yet that person might spend $100 on drinks on Friday night. So it's wherever the person is placing their importance is what they are on their hierarchy. Now, the problem is this, is that just most people are willing to spend the $100 on drinks rather than a massage. But that massage transfers benefits onto you. Does $100 in alcohol on a Friday night transfer benefits onto you? Most likely not, right? Or maybe it does, you're enjoying yourself temporarily, but certainly that's going to lead to a downcline that next day. You want to enjoy a drink or two, you're perfectly healthy with friends, with family, go for it. Every Thursday, Friday, Saturday night, probably not. Probably not the best idea in terms of your overall health. I also look at this. People are out there trying to advance their education. Maybe it's going back to school to become a massage therapist or becoming a personal trainer or becoming a health coach, an integrative health practitioner. These are all investments people are making in themselves and a future career. You have to understand that there are a certain group of people that are bold enough to believe that their future can be different than their present moment in time. These are the people that are the dreamers, that believe they can improve their spirituality, that they can rise above their present circumstances, that they can shift their mindset to develop the career, the relationship, the body, the wellness, anything that they are looking to manifest into their life. And those people will always be different. They will always be hard to understand because of the cultural norms of where we are told to line up in a single file and march straight ahead through life, following all of the rules that have been dictated by our teachers, our doctors, any government that you're a part of that wants you to stay in a very predictable fashion. But again, I'm not saying go out there and break the rules. I'm not actually saying that. What I am saying is this, though. Anytime you think a little bit differently, that you start to use a little bit more natural medicine in your own life, that you actually shift your routine to saying, you know what, I'm going to wake up an hour earlier. And your spouse or anyone in your family might say, what are you doing? Get an extra hour of sleep. But they don't understand is that you're actually making a choice. You're making the choice to wake up earlier because you're actually not making the choice to wake up earlier. Waking up earlier is just the action. What you're doing is you're making the choice to say, I'm not going to start my day stressed. I'm not going to start my day to the sound of an air raid or alarm siren or my kids waking me up so that we just start the morning running around. Like, that's it. So you're making the choice to say, no, I'm going to wake up a half hour or an hour earlier. And in turn, I think I'm going to go to bed a little bit earlier at night. So it's a trade-off. Now, the trade-off is there's probably not a lot more going on at night. You're on your phone, you're watching TV, whatever it might be. And if you work it back a half hour and you get a half hour more in your day, a half hour earlier in the day, you can do a lot with that. 30 minutes allows you a workout in the morning. 30 minutes allows you to read 10 pages of a book, right? 30 minutes allows you to start on that certification that's going to take you forward, that's going to give you a little bit more momentum. 30 minutes is enough time for meditation. Or if you haven't even just given yourself enough time in the morning, you don't even have enough time to shower, right? Because you're getting your kids ready. 30 more minutes will do that for you. But that is not the norm. A lot of people are not going to understand that. They're just not going to get it. Be like, no, I'm tired in the morning. Why would I wake up a little bit earlier? Well, there's the other side of it. You could wake up. You could go to bed just a little bit earlier as well. And they say, well, give up what? Give up texting my friends for an extra half hour? Give up watching the news at night? Of course, I would never do that, right? So that's why you're a little different. That's okay. The other thing is this. Most people will never understand meditating 10 minutes twice a day. They say, who has the time to meditate for 10 minutes twice a day? Well, the thing is this. If you do meditate for 10 minutes twice a day, you're going to have more time in your day because you're not going to be as tired. You're not going to be as scattered. Your mind's going to be more focused. It's going to be more at peace. It's going to be more balanced. And because of that, you're going to be able to be more and do more. Another one that's hard to understand is waking up every morning and making a nice, delicious smoothie. People wake up and they say, well, what's going on here? Like their spouse questions them, their parents, whatever it might be. And again, they don't get it. What are you doing, buying that organic fruit and putting in a cup or two of that in the morning? It's too much money. When in the long run, it's a couple dollars. Again, far less money than that $5 latte and maybe a cereal bar that they're buying or a muffin, which is still $2, $3, $4. And certainly not going to give you all the health benefits. No antioxidants, not the same vitamins and minerals and nutrients, and doesn't have all the fiber. So that's processed food versus whole food that you're putting into that smoothie. Just because it's blended doesn't mean it's whole food. It certainly is whole food. You put whole food in, you just made it easier to digest. And you made it nice. It cleanses that body in the morning, right? It's hydration. It's fluid. You haven't drank any water most likely for the last 10, 12 hours. But again, you say that to people and they're just going to shake their head because why? Not because they don't necessarily believe, but they don't want to believe. Why is it they don't want to believe? Well, if they believed you, if they actually heard you, they would have to then start to make those changes in their own life because they would realize they were on the wrong path. But no, they are lined up. They're in that single file formation, which keeps them content because they say, well, that's what everybody else does. Oh, I have high cholesterol. Well, it's that age, right? 45 years old. Okay. Doctor said I had high cholesterol. Have to go on a statin. My parents were on statins. My grandparents were on statins. That just means, okay, I get to go on a statin. Like, that's it, right? That is the norm. That's the cultural norm. Well, forget about diet, right? Forget about exercise. And again, maybe people are like, oh, I tried dieting. Well, did you really try dieting? What did you really try, right? And then when we look at it again, people don't understand what's a statin made out of. I will be talking about this most likely this Friday. Red yeast rice extract from a plant, right? What is aspirin made out of? A plant. Like, what are we doing here? We have to realize that over 50% of all pharmaceuticals come from plant-based extracts. They just patent them so they can charge more money to insurance agencies. But again, what if we said that to someone? They would say, no, I don't believe that. When if they did a simple search, they would see it's the truth. But again, what would happen if they learned the truth? Well, you learn the truth. You have to change. That's why I learned the truth at a very young age. I learned that conventional medicine is amazing, right? I mean, it can literally perform miracles by giving a liver transplant, open heart surgery. I mean, amazing miracles. But if you're talking about your everyday person and all the chronic diseases of society, that's the majority of people out there, very little, right? Very little help in that area. Sure, they can mask the symptoms. Do you really want the symptoms masked, though? I'll be talking about that a little bit more in just a moment. I don't think that you do. That's the thing. And I don't think that most people do. They do in the moment, but not 10 years, not 20 years down the line. They certainly don't want that. So what I'm saying right now is that don't be afraid to walk a different path. Someone has to do it. You have to be that role model that people will start to begin to follow. If you start to live a life that a lot of people question, one day they will look at you and where you are and the life that you're living, and they'll say, you know what? I want some of that. And at first, they're not going to be open to it because they're not going to fully comprehend it. They're not going to understand it. They're not going to realize, like, how is it that eating healthier, moving your body, detoxing quarterly, using a sauna, how is it that those things are leading to this life? This person has energy in body. They have energy in mind. Their mood is lifted. They feel like they're more connected. They have great relationships. They're in a better mood. How is this possible? I want some of that. And they're not going to be ready yet. They're not going to be ready yet. So that's why do not underestimate that not everyone understands you. They don't get it, right? But they're watching. So continue to be that role model, even if you're struggling yourself. You will struggle in the beginning. I struggled longer than most people, but I didn't get it. I didn't have a real mentor. I was jumping from practitioner to practitioner. That was it. I was just moving from certification to certification, practitioner to practitioner. Didn't get it. Then I met my mentor who was very unassuming, and that's what I needed because all these people, and they were very, very smart, many, many practitioners I saw, I didn't connect with them. I still had a lot of ego at that time. But then I met this woman in her later 60s, very unassuming, like 4'10", like 88 pounds. And she began to speak to me, but actually very confidently, quite sternly. And she said, this is what you have going on. This is why, after this many years, you're still not fully well. You need to begin to integrate Ayurveda, and not just Ayurveda, but the lifestyles of Ayurveda with functional medicine, with something called heart-brain coherence. And I'll be talking about more of that in the future. Now, again, when I heard her say that, if it was anyone else, anyone at all, I would have basically not laughed at them, but I'd been like, okay, sure. But there was something about her and the way that she said it and her confidence in it that I said, maybe there's something to it. I'm going to at least keep myself open to it. And that's what I do to this day because it can be transforming. So when people start to speak with you and they start to say, oh, I don't know if this is really true, you say, listen, I don't need you to believe me. It's okay. You don't have to believe me. All I want you to do is give it a shot. And give it a shot for you. Don't give it a shot for me. I'm good. Everything's good here. I'm saying this for you. And then, you know what? I'm not ready yet. Just like, I totally understand. I get it. When you are ready, let's have the conversation. I say that all the time. My practice is about 80% women, 20% men. And a lot of the women come into my practice and say, I would love for my husband to come in here and see you. And every time, tongue in cheek, I say, don't send him to me. And I say, here's the thing. We all want what is best for our loved ones, but they can only go at their pace when they're ready. If they try to do it before they're ready, they're just going to self-sabotage themselves. I mean, they really are. You can give someone the best plan in the world. I'd say this all the time. You can give them the best plan in the world. It's not going to work for them, even if it's the best plan, because they're going to find a way to self-sabotage it. The first obstacle they encounter, they're just going to drop it like, hey, see, it didn't work for me, rather than make that one or two little tweaks, right? So on their time, it's always on their time. And that's what I say. Listen, I say, I want you to be that beacon of light. I want you to show them how you're transforming your life. Then they're going to say, what are you doing, right? And they're going to start to make small changes. This happens all the time. Just last week, so I just want to share a little something personal for me. I've tried to help my parents for many, many years with their own health, and they're doing so much better. They've already made monumental improvements, and it's night and day. I mean, like really, we transformed as a family the way that we live and the way that we eat tremendously because none of us knew, right? None of us knew I grew up in the 80s and 90s. That was basically my childhood time. And when you look at that, I mean, we were eating Fruity Pebbles and Frosted Flakes in the morning. When I ate Wheaties, because it was like a sports thing and I was into sports, I'd still put like 6 tablespoons of sugar on it. And then I would drink Kool-Aid. I mean, like Little Debbie snacks I talk about all the time because it's true. I ate them every day. And then after dinner, we always drank a big glass of cold milk at dinner with like just spaghetti and meatballs, whatever we might be eating. Then after dinner, I might eat like some Hood vanilla ice cream. I mean, these things are toxic. And I did this every day. But we didn't know. Like my parents were doing the best that they could and knew for me, right? But here's why. Because they were walking in that single file straight line that everybody understands. Except for us, the outliers. And they look at us and they say, I don't get it. Like, what are you doing? What are you doing eating, that Buddha bowl or that salad or whatever it might be? What are you doing making that smoothie with blueberries in the morning? Like, that seems crazy. But when we look at it, we say, listen, be like, at one point, I probably thought that too. But truly, what you're doing is crazy. Now, you can't say this, but what you're doing, the life that you're living is crazy. I mean, you're waking up every morning and you're drinking a large coffee because you're tired. You're just stimulating your nervous system and pumping adrenaline through your veins to wake up. And then you're eating sandwich at lunch with bread and processed meat. That processed meat has already been shown to cause cancer. It's a known carcinogen. I mean, bologna and salami and all these things. Yeah, sure, they're tasty, right? How long are they tasty for? 5 minutes while you're shoveling it down in your mouth? That's it. You get 5 minutes of pleasure for potentially cancer in 10, 20 years, and that's the kicker, right? You don't get cancer tomorrow after eating a salami sandwich. You get it 20 years from now, 30 years from now. So here's the thing, though. And again, I try this all the time, and I just say, listen, like, I'm here for you. I'd say that to my parents, like, I will answer your questions and I will help you. But lately, and it's very difficult to work with family, and to get it, believe me, I get it. I understand, especially as a health practitioner. But here's the thing. It's often better said by other people. So what you want to do is you can present them with the information, but that doesn't mean they're going to change. Even my parents, it doesn't mean that they've really adopted a plant-based lifestyle. My dad to this day doesn't even really eat vegetables. He won't eat them. As an adult, he will not eat them. Decides not to. It's just not his thing. He doesn't want to. But I'll tell you this. Just last week, so this is very timely, just last week, my in-laws, them and about 10 of their friends decided to do the functional medicine detox, my Dr. Wall detox for the very first time. The results, and I'm not just saying this, the results were monumental. We had people losing 10 pounds in 4 days. There was so much toxicity. We had one woman, she did it for 21 days. She lost 11 and a half pounds. Her husband, he said, I could commit to it for 10 days. He lost 12 pounds in 10 days. So you have to understand is these are people that weren't living that lifestyle and they did it. They saw the results. Now I'll tell you this, the husband didn't do it till he saw the results from his wife. So that's why it matters. It really does. Then their daughter did it. Their daughter did it. Typical American diet. Lost all that weight in just a couple days. That's how much toxicity there was. That's how much inflammation there was. Now, that didn't stop there. Now their friends saw that. I mean, again, if you lose 10 to 15 pounds in 2 or 3 weeks, you don't think people are going to notice? Oh, your face looks so much less swollen. Your skin begins to glow. You have far more energy. The whites of your eyes get that much more clear. You don't think people are going to notice that? Of course they are. And then, again, that's why you do it. You do it, and then you share what you're doing. Just say, hey, listen, this is what I did. You could even say as a skeptic, listen, I was skeptical. I thought it was crazy. And a lot of them, they only plan on doing 7 days. And then they said, I'm feeling so great, I want to go for 14. Feeling so great, I want to do 21. And that's how it works. All we need to do, we don't need people to understand. They're not going to understand. What we want them to do is take that first action. Just say, listen, I was skeptical too. I didn't believe this in the beginning either. I came from the same background you did. And that's the truth with me. Seemed crazy to me using these herbs, using these phase 1, phase 2 detox-based products, like crazy. But here's the thing. Once you use it, you know it works. And then you can say, okay, now why does it work? And you can begin to look at the science and say, oh, this is actually backed up by science. This is then where that dissonance, or that dissonance comes in. Cognitive dissonance is what we call it, where we're doing one thing in life, and then we realize there's a better way of doing it, and it's totally contrary to what we have been doing. Then our mind has to decide, what's the right way to go? And it's much easier to stay on the same path. That's why a lot of people regress back. It's easier because if you accept this new future, if you accept that there's potentially a better way of doing things and no one's ever told you, you might just begin to question everything. What else have I been lied to about? How is it that potentially eating more of a plant-based diet is healthier for me? How is it that having a liquid-based breakfast or an easy-to-digest breakfast is better for me? I had no idea I didn't need all the caffeine. When you start to live this lifestyle, again, trust me. So I know that you want people to understand and you want your family to understand, you want your spouse to understand, but they can't because they've never lived it. Get them to commit to a 7-day detox. Get them to maybe run a simple lab. Give them something that will begin to make a change in their life, even just a smoothie for breakfast. I tell people all the time, it's transformative because here's the thing. If you're doing a smoothie for breakfast, and you can download the free smoothie guide on any single podcast page. Just scroll towards the bottom. You'll see a graphic. It's completely free. But if you do that and you start doing a smoothie for breakfast, here's the thing. When you do a smoothie for breakfast, you're making a proper choice, a good, healthy choice to start your day. You are most likely not going to then start to make poor choices throughout the day. You might even start doing a little bit more steps. Or you also crowded out a lot of the bad stuff you're going to do in the morning. The muffins, the cereal, because you made a better choice. Now, there's less inflammation. There's less erratic blood sugar. All of these things matter in the long run. So again, I know you're trying to make people change, and it's noble, and I get it. Instead, have them sit down and just watch a documentary with you. Watch any one of your favorite documentaries about health. Begin just to get their mind open, and then just say, you know what? Would you do a 7-day detox with me? Just give it a shot. What's the worst that can happen, right? Give that a shot. And one more thing that I need to add to this is this. And I used to make this mistake all the time as a young practitioner. So if you're a practitioner and you have less than 5 years or maybe 7 years experience or so, you have to understand is that you're deep in it. You've been in it now for maybe a decade or so. You've made your transformation. You want to just drag everybody over to your side because it feels so great. You want them to be here with you. But here's the thing. It is like drinking from a fire hose sometimes, right? It's just too much. I mean, you basically regurgitate everything you've ever learned in one session with them, right? One appointment, right? It's just too much for them to handle. And I say this all the time. When I first started my practice, I used to give everybody this 10-page printout, and I went through details of their diet plan and their exercise. People didn't look at it again. It was too much. Now, what do? A 1-page cheat sheet. That's it. All I want to do is get them through the next 4 weeks. Because we're going to talk again in 4 weeks. All I need them to implement is this. Okay, what do you need to do the first 4 weeks? Well, we just got back your labs. Here's the initial things we have to do. Maybe the CBO protocol. Start everything maybe with the 21-day detox. Let's talk again. Oh, but where's my exercise plan? Listen, if you master this, you're going to be well on your way. Talk about exercise. Good. Whatever you're doing right now, keep it going. Add about 1,000 more steps per day, per week. That's it. Start to just work it up to 5,000, 10,000 steps a day. We're going to talk in 4 weeks. We'll start to make those next food changes then. So listen, as a practitioner, again, you have to understand is that you have so much knowledge and you want to empower people to such a great degree. Even if, again, it doesn't mean that you're a practitioner or not, but you're someone in your family who now shops organic and you understand that you're not swallowing bug spray with every bite and how that can affect young children's nervous systems. And with older people, it can lead to potentially cancer, right? You're trying to teach people like, okay, yeah, it might cost a little bit more for organic food, but here's the thing. You're paying now or you're paying for cancer and other based treatments later in your life. And I know there's no guarantee that you won't get cancer. I know that it's going to affect so many people. And we live in a very toxic world. But you have to understand is that better to say I did everything that I could and get an issue than to say, oh, I wish and have all of those regrets. So take people where they are right now. I talk about this all the time with the coaches in my practice, the personal trainers in my practice. I say this, listen, wherever your client is right now, just bring them up one rung on the ladder. When they master that and they're good, bring them up one more rung and just keep going. And they will let you know when they've gone as far as they can. Like that's all they can implement in their life. Then say, okay, no problem. In maybe 12 weeks or so, summer's over, winter's over, whatever it might be. Then come back. We'll see if we can add to that next level. That's all you need to do and people will be so much better off. So the bottom line is this, is that not everyone's going to understand. They're not. But never believe for 1 second that you're not on the right track. You are. You don't ever want to fit in. Trust me, you never want to fit into society in the normal culture. The normal culture is all about hedonism and living in the moment, but not in the good way. Meaning like all of the pleasures in the moment. That's it. It's like, oh, well, what's the tastiest food I can eat right now? Never mind what it's doing to my body. Never mind how it's filling up my rain barrel. All that matters is just satisfying that craving right now. Oh, I want to stay up later. Never mind how this is going to set you back tomorrow. So remember, you're not off track. I'll tell you right now, most everyone else is. You're doing the right thing. But yes, it's not always easy to live in a world where people don't get it. We don't necessarily fit in as a group. But here's the thing. There's enough of us out there that we're able to connect with others, that you can take solace in something like our Facebook group, cabralsupportgroup.com, which is free. Connect with people all around the world. For our IHPs, we have a private Facebook group. We have people doing meetups with other IHPs in Australia and in Iceland and in South America and in Canada, all over the US, the UK, and Europe. So people are getting together and realizing that, sure, we might be the misfits, but we get it. We realize that, like, we're living lives to our true potential. We're creating visions for our future that most people would never dare to dream. We're doing things with our relationships, with our body, with our health, with our spirituality, with our careers that most people would love, but they're not even willing to take that first step. Why? Because they believe somewhere within them that they just can't. But I wish that they understood, and again, that's why we all have to do our work. I wish that they understood that the first step is simply keeping your mind open. When you keep your mind open, you realize that if I continue to live the same way that I'm living today, my future is going to look pretty much the same. And that may not be a bad thing. It may not be a bad thing. Hey, when you're good, you're good. But if you don't want 10 years from now to look like today, something needs to change. And it is only those very special individuals who have come far enough to realize that they may not have all the answers, but they're willing to go out and find them. Thank you so much for tuning into today's show. I appreciate you. Thank you for being one of the misfits. I appreciate it. Have an amazing rest of the day. And as always, if you feel like this show could help anyone at all, please do feel free to share it with them. Take care. Did you know that the body really only becomes sick or imbalanced in only two ways? Over time, you become deficient in vital nutrients, and you also accumulate toxins internally and from the environment. As those nutrients diminish and you increase your total toxic load, your body then begins to show the first signs of dis-ease. It's actually quite predictable, and the good news is that if we know how you began to fill up that proverbial rain barrel, we also know how to empty it to begin the healing process. I was fortunate enough to learn this ancient healing process from my mentor after suffering from debilitating diseases for close to a decade. It was only when I began to implement these techniques did I finally overcome my illnesses and go on to live a life of energy and vitality that I now enjoy. I'd like to share with you now what I discovered after traveling all over the world and how to combine the best of ancient healing wisdom with state-of-the-art science. Allow me to teach you exactly how I've been able to help over 250,000 people to empty their rain barrel and begin to transform their body and lives into what they've always hoped they could be. To get your copy of the international bestseller, The Rain Barrel Effect, simply go to stephencabral.com/rainbarrel.